Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but try to make sure you stay to the end of the video because I will be breaking down each and every pair, going through it, recapping what's happened this week, and also forecasting the next. So I do hope you find today's video valuable, useful. But for that said, guys, let's get straight into it. Okay, so first up we got Euro USD. Like always, as you can see for this pair, still slowly making its way to the downside. So price action hasn't been the best of late for Euro USD. Very up, down, up, down. You can see represented there by the daily candles. So price action has been a little bit corrected, but overall this overall bearish trend has still been maintaining, and the market's still heading to the downside, which is what we were looking for coming into this week. So last week on my weekly analysis, I was telling you guys we're simply just looking for more shorts to head this lower. Still do have that higher time frame target, that monthly wick all the way down that 1.06 300. That's where I do think the market's coming into to test or to take out and head lower. But that is the target I have for this this bearish trend for Euro USD to head to. So I can still see more downside for Euro. Coming into this week, was looking for a retest of this support level here. Gave us that strong move to the upside, broke through, haven't come back for the retest. So I did say I'm mainly looking for shorts at this level. You can see we came pretty close before coming back down, so I didn't quite hit that area. But you can see this trend line here is still holding. This is, I'm just regarding as a false break of the trend line really, and the price is still rolling over. So I'm still looking at price coming a lot lower, and there's kind of 2/3 setups I'm looking for. I say /3 because I'm still looking for the retest of this support time resistance, but I don't think price will come back up into that level now. We could see a bigger retracement happen, price kind of come out, take out some of these highs and then roll over. That could happen, but I think the market is quite bearish, and I do think we'll probably just roll over. So I will be looking for the break and retest of that level, but like I said, I don't think it will happen. The two opportunities that I do have a good chance of happening is the break and retest of this prior swing low. You can see the market fell over, formed that support, and started this brief bullish retracement there, and now we're trading back underneath that. So if we can maintain that as resistance and not get above that level, that would be a great place to look to short, get some nice swing entries down and take advantage of this bearish trend. And again, like I said, targets have that monthly zone there at 1.06, or if we climb slightly back above it, just go and retest that trend line. Again, that would be a nice place to look for shorts and look for another lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, bit of a false move, another lower high, and then again looking for some shorts at around this area here, or wherever the market does hit the trend line. Again, same targets back at those lows. So Euro USD, as you can see, I am bearish. If we do run up to test that resistance up there, 1.906, again, like I said, we'll be looking for shorts, but I'm not sure if we will do that. So again, you can see I'm not really interested in buying Euro USD at all next week. If we do have a big break to the upside and we take this level out as well, then okay, I'll probably look for the reversal and start to be more bullish for Euro USD. But everything monthly, weekly, daily, 4H even, is all giving us lower highs and lower lows and just bearish structure. So it's best to stay in tune with that and maintain that sell buy. So I'm still looking at Euro USD rolling over, break and retest of 1.08200, or coming into that trend line there, maybe around the 1.08500. We'll be looking for that lower highs and targets down at 1.06300 for next week for Euro USD. Okay, so next we're going to move on to USD JPY. As you can see, this pair is still pushing to the upside, still looking strong. And coming into the week, I said to you guys that the market is still giving us higher highs and higher lows. So the best way to trade this, day trade it and just look for those pullbacks and take advantage of that yen weakness. And as you can see this week, that yen weakness was still intact, and the market head higher, give us some highs, almost at 130 even. So market is still looking bullish, but I am looking for a deeper retracement. You can see how the market's moved recently. We had this big surge to the upside and a quite big correction there, and now we're having another big surge. So I'm looking at something like this correction happening again for USD/JPY, to the downside, something like this, before maybe we see another bullish run, giving us this high, that higher low, that high up there, potentially another higher low, and then maybe another push before maybe we do that reversal. But I still do have targets for USD/JPY to continue to head to the upside, as I'm looking at the higher time frames with this, because looking at the lower time frames, there's really not much to work with in terms of levels, structure. All we're seeing is just a lot of bullish momentum, so we have to jump to the higher time frames to actually get some reference of where we are in the market, in the bigger picture, in the bigger scheme of things. And you can see price has taken out this high here at 125 and it's trading higher, and I do believe maybe in the next few months we could, or maybe even sooner than that, to be honest, we could actually be trading at 135 at this high. That's where I'm expecting the market to go. We might just continue to fly, or we might retrace and then head there. Either which way, that's where I'm expecting this bullish trend to take us to 135. So I'm looking at some correction, like I said, for USD/JPY. We've broken through this monthly zone here at 125.862, and we haven't really had that retest of it. So I'm looking at some correction back down into this area, and then some longs for price to head forward. We do have this fib here. If I just make that thicker for you guys, you can see we do have this 50% zone here just underneath that monthly level. So generally I'm looking for the market to come back into this area, look for some longs. We've got that high over there, higher low, higher high, looking for the next higher low, and then some buys to the upside. So I do think the market can roll over, so there could be some nice short-term sells, maybe on the hourly or lower. I wouldn't hold on to those sells for too long though, because I do see the market heading higher. So as a swing opportunity, this is really what I'm seeing happening. If we do break through this monthly zone and start holding under that as resistance and start producing some lower highs, then I'll start looking for that bigger reversal and bigger bearish swings, but only when that does happen, and I'm not sure that will happen next week. If it does, we'll be looking for sells on the retest of that, so you can form some lower highs and targets back at this low here on the left. But all I can see is still longs for USD/JPY. So looking at some correction, higher low at around the 126 area, then longs straight back into those highs at 129.400 for next week. Okay, so next up we've got USD CAD. So USD CAD this week, very interesting pair. Saw some aggressive bearish momentum earlier in the week, and then that quickly flipped bullish later on. And as you can see, the market just taking out those highs from the previous week and looking fairly bullish with that weekly candle close. It was a nice hammer candlestick pattern there, big wick to the downside, now closing very bullish there. So interesting for USD CAD, very up and down, but quite a lot of momentum on the lower time frames. And I did say to you guys that USD CAD is just a little bit choppy on the 4H last week. It was kind of just moving a little bit sideways there, but I said it, as long as this level holds at 1.265, we'll be looking for those sales to the market to head lower. And if it does break above, I'll be changing that bias and looking for the market to head higher into 1.28 and potentially beyond as well. So as you can see, it did hold as resistance briefly, but then the market came in, broke through that level very aggressively there on Friday. So I do believe USD CAD can actually head a lot higher. I think this last sell move was a bit of a fake sell-off there to form a higher low, and now the true momentum is coming into the market. So I do believe the market is going to head a lot higher. 1.28, and actually do have targets all the way at 1.3 as well. Looking at the higher time frames, you can see we've got this this bullish trend here. The market, I do believe, is priced in another higher low. So we've got that low there, high, got that low, high, and I do think this is a new higher low forming. So I'm expecting price to head back into this resistance and maybe some new highs at 1.3, but again, that's a bit long term in the future. As for next week, however, I do see more upside as well. I've got a target here at 1.277, this resistance here, and also these highs up here with those wicks of 1, 2, 3 at 1.287 is where I'm looking for the market to head to for next week. So I'm either looking for the market to keep maintaining that bullish, break through that, retest it, then we'll look for longs into that zone, or retrace, retest this level, and then look for longs into that zone, and then into that zone as well if we can break through. So That's the kind of plan I'm looking for. So dropping into the 4H, looking for, some retracement back into this level because we've broken through. Now let's see if we can hold it as support. First target will be back into that zone over there. Like I said, 1.277. And then if we can break through that as well, we'll be looking for the retest. And next target will be 1.287 or 1.288 up there. So only looking for bias for USD CAD. Do have a bullish bias. I'm very, very confident with this bias now. Obviously it could be wrong, but a lot of things are lining up for this one. So looking for more upside. If we retrace, cool, we'll look for some longs. If not, we'll keep flying. We'll look for the break and retest of the 1.277 zone and targets at 1.287 after that next week for USD CAD.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound this week, big move to the upside. I mean, overall the week was very, very corrective until Friday. We just continued to see that bullish momentum, and price broke through some key levels to the upside and looking quite. Okay, so now we'll move on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound this week, quite bullish, was fairly corrective most of the week, and then Thursday and Friday started to pick up momentum, especially Friday with a strong close to the upside there, giving us a bullish engulfing there on the weekly. Again, not too much in context because we are kind of sideways, but we have engulfed last week's price action. So yeah, looking quite bullish. Coming into the week, I was actually very bearish in Euro Pound, looking for Euro Pound to head lower back to these lows here at 0.82. But you can see we failed to remain below this level. We did throughout most of the week, but Friday, you can see prices firmly closed back above that. So that 0.82 level could still be hit if this bearish trend still continues back to those lows. But with that push there, we could still head a little bit higher. So Euro Pound for me, I'm still overall bearish, and I will be for Euro Pound as long as we stay below this trend line, break through that. I will change my bias and look for some longs, but for me coming into this, there's only really one position I'm looking to take, which is sells, break above, cool. I'll look to flip the bias and look for some longs to take advantage of that potential breakout. But you can see the market is trading at a key area here. You can see was really nice support, bit of a fake out to the downside, nice resistance, bit of a fake resistance as well, resistance, again another fake of the trend line. So if we can break through this area here, which is 0.84200, start to use that as support as well as the trend line, that breakout could occur, and we could be seeing a big push for Euro Pound. Targets will be at those highs initially, and then so on and so forth. Got all those highs to look at. But if we do hold on to this level, the market could easily form another lower high, respect the trend line, respect the resistance, and roll back over into that support, then potentially even into those lows there. So that is the plan for Euro Pound. It just depends, are we going to hold on to the resistance and the trend line, or break through? And that's all I'll be watching next week for Euro Pound, to see what we do, in this area. Can we break or do we hold? If the price action shows a lot of rejection, maybe some lower highs, we'll look for some shorts, targets back down at 0.83 there, and we'll be looking for something like this. Stop loss above the zone, above the trend line, hopefully as well, and then target down there. If we break through and start to use this area as support, then targets all the way back at these highs up here, because then we'll anticipate the breakout and then look for some longs on the retest. So all in all, focus will be on this level here and the trend line, 0.842, to see what happens for next week. Hold, looking for the market to come right back down, break and retest, longs back to the highs at 0.8511 for next week. Okay, so up next we've got Aodu USD, and as you see the market looking really nice and bearish, which was expected. We were looking for a push into 0.73 this week. You can see the market has surpassed that, had a nice correction to the upside there, quite big push on the lower time frames, but after that market just placed another lower high and rolled over. So we are still seeing more downside. Again, like I said in the weekly chart last week, I do think this is another lower high, and the market is getting ready to roll over this big wick here. I think it's just a big fake out, and now we're seeing that bearish momentum, and targets for this one is all the way back down at 0.77. I believe the market's just squeezing in this area, getting ready for a breakout to the upside, or to the downside. But all in all, I think we're just going to see another bearish swing, and this support level is where I'm expecting the market to head towards 0.77. Very strong psychological level. So that is where I'm expecting the market to head to, but obviously I don't think the market will do that in 1 week, maybe 2 or 3. It depends how momentum is and everything, but all in all, any retracement, any bullish momentum we see, we'll anticipate a lower high to come after that, and should be looking to sell those rallies back down again all the way into those lows. So dropping onto the lower time frames, targets and projections for the week, got a really nice support there to work with. Will be the first target. We've got nice support here, really strong push, wicked into it, nice strong push, and then we'll be looking at 0.7 after that. Now there's not too much levels to work with, as our prior support there is all the way up there, which we broke through. So we could look at a fairly aggressive retracement back into that level and then fall, but I'm mainly just going to be focused on 0.73 because that was strong resistance once. If I go back on the daily time frame quickly, that was strong resistance once for us, so if the market can hold this level again, that will be a nice area to look to play some trades if we reject it, of course, and then take advantage of those sells. So if we can retrace back into 0.73, come back, form another lower high, potentially sells back down into 0.718, 0.71, and then 0.7 will be the target for AUD/USD. So yeah, only looking for sells, not interested in buys whatsoever. Next week, yes, the market could go up, but I do believe the bigger moves, will be bearish, and 0.7 will be the long-term targets for AUD/USD. So yeah, pull back into 0.73. Maybe if we do pull back into that support as well, I'm not sure if we will, but if we do and reject it, great. We'll be looking for sales as well. First target 0.718, second 0.71, third 0.7 for AUD/USD. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to NZD CAD. So as you can see, for NZD CAD, still looking bearish. Market is still climbing lower, and like I said a couple of weeks ago, we do have targets all the way back down here at 0.83427. So still expecting the market to come and take out these lows and head lower. I did say looking for some retracement this week, which we did see, but just not as much as I wanted to. Essentially, is looking for the market to come and retest this really nice level of support. 1, 2, 3 hasn't retested as resistance, so I was looking for the market to come and hit that level and then roll over, but as you can see, we had some slight retracement and the market's just kept moving bearish. So at this rate, I'm not seeing the market come all the way back up there. It could do. I mean, if it does do that, again, we'll be looking at some sells for that bigger push back down, but I think the market is very, very bearish and doesn't have enough energy in it to actually see that bigger push. So yeah, similar to Euro/USD, we've got this kind of trend line here that is helping the market on its way back down. So if you could see a third test of this trend line, market hold, form another lower high, you've got lower high there, lower low, lower high, lower low, form potentially another lower high. We'll be looking for those new lows at 0.83427. So that's mainly what I'll be looking at for NZD CAD, a push back down into that area. Again, you can see that price swing low there will be turning resistance as well. So just generally in this area, if we can form another lower high, great. We'll be looking for that sell trade. If we do have that breakout, then there could be some nice buys to take back up, but I do think only momentarily, because I think the market might just have a deeper retracement, maybe back into that resistance or that one there, or potentially 0.86 up there, just to roll back over. So I'm not interested in the buys, although like I said, there could be some nice buys in the break and retest, but probably want to be in and out, getting ready for those sells, for the bigger move in the market, because even if we do break out, I'm still seeing the market head lower. As long as we stay below 0.86 essentially, which is that level, I'm still looking at the market heading back down into these lows. So that's primarily what I'll be looking for. If we do break out, have a little deeper retracement, then again looking for those lows as well, as long as we can hold that level of 0.86 all the way up there. So bearish bias for NZD CAD, looking for sales at 0.84700 or 0.86, looking for that lower high and targets down at 0.83400 for next week. Okay, so next up we've got pound NZD. So pound NZD this week, not too much for this one. Again, the main focus coming into the week was this resistance here for all these wicks. I said to you guys, if you can hold this, looking for the market to come back down to some of these areas down here, or if we break through, then I'm looking at the market heading up to 1.965. As you can see, big gap to fill, not much price action there. Last time we found support, on the daily and the 4 hour, was at 1.965, so that is where I see the market heading to next. But as you can see, the market was holding the resistance, but mainly just consolidating, tried to roll over, quickly came back up the following day, and not much after that. So again, still stands coming into next week as well. If we can break through, still looking for a push into 1.965. If we hold, then look for the market to roll over. Some areas, well, I will be looking to target if we do roll over 1.905. And obviously this area here as well, with that big wick there, is a really nice level of support. So 2 areas to target and 1 area to target to the upside. It does look like the market is starting to use this as support, so if we can maintain that coming into next week, we'll be looking at some longs back up into 1.965 on a simple break and retest. If not, and the market breaks underneath, starts giving us some lower highs, hold it as resistance, then simply just looking for shorts in the opposite direction, because the market previously dropped to the downside. This is where we found that resistance. So if you start using that support, you would expect the market to continue this bullish trend here, back it up into that last level of support time resistance. But if we fail, this could be the next lower swing high, from this big push, and we might see price head out the low. So depends what we do. Maintain that support, longs into 1.965, break underneath, use it as resistance. Target 1, 1.905, target 2, 1.88 for next week for pound NZD. Okay, so next up, CAD JPY. So as you can see for this pair, more upside, as we've seen for the yen pairs in general, just more upside. Yen is still very, very weak. Did gain some strength though. Later stage of the week, see Thursday, Friday, some nice correction. You could look across the other JPY pairs, we have seen some correction, on Friday for the yen pairs, but I still do believe there's more upside left to them. Looking at USD JPY, as you've seen earlier in the video, still have targets higher up. CAD JPY, nothing's changed, still do have targets higher up. Going to the monthly time frame, you can see we've got this lovely level here at 106, where I do think the market's headed towards next. You can see we tapped into that area, really nice move to the downside, came back in, nice move, and I think that's where the market's headed to next. Since we have formed a higher low, we failed to take out these lows here, so that is where the market, I believe the market's headed to next at 106. So I still see more upside for CAD JPY before maybe we do have that bigger reversal, we're all looking for. But I do think the buys are still going to be the main focus over the next maybe 2 or 3 weeks for the JPY pairs before they maybe have that bigger reversal. There probably will obviously be some good sells, of course, but I do think the bullish trend will continue. So you can see with the structure of the market, got the high, low, similar to USD JPY high. I'm expecting a new low somewhere before the continuation higher. We've got a really nice resistance here, price swing high, resistance will be turned support, and obviously it does line up quite nicely with the fib as well, hitting that 50% fib level there as well. So I'm looking for a bit more downside for CAD back into this area and then a push higher. Nice demand as well, because you can see the market is very, very corrective coming up, broke through the level, used that support, and then a big surge happened. So I do think really nice support to buy from a lot of demand, and also strong psychological level of 100 for CAD JPY. So big psychological level at that level. If we can reject that, get some good candlestick patterns, can look to get involved, and simply the targets will be right back at those highs at 103 or slightly just under 103, 102.96. Again, do have the monthly targets up there, so you can probably look to stretch the trade if you want to, but again, I probably do think it might take 2 or 3 weeks for that to happen. So for next week, just looking for a push back to those highs, but if you want to, you can probably stretch the trade a little bit further into 106, if you want to hold the trade. But that is what I'm looking for CAD JPY. Not interested in sales really. Break below this and start using it as resistance, then yeah, maybe the sales will come into action. But for what I'm seeing now, everything's still looking bullish. So looking for a higher low around this 100 area, resistance turn support, and longs back to highs at 102.926 for next week. Okay, so up next, pound USD. So pound USD, not much for this one during the week until last day, Friday. We bled to the downside, breaking through 1.3, which was expected for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And I'll be telling you guys 1.29 is the target for pound USD and where I'm expecting this one to head to. You can see we've actually broken through 1.29, so the market is quite bearish, more bearish than I expected. Obviously, big candle there on Friday, taking out a lot of levels, including that 1.3, which was holding. You can see the market was giving us all these lower highs, telling us that the market was probably going to break to the downside rather than have that bigger push upside and reverse. And now you can see we are still looking quite bearish here. So the market for me has hit the level I was looking for the market to get to, which is this 1.29 level of support on the monthly, and we're actually pushing past that a little bit. Of course, the monthly candle still has 6 days and a little bit left before it does close, but I am looking for the market to head a little bit lower into this weekly zone here. Really nice weekly zone. As you can see, resistance, support, support, resistance, and actually, after this previous down move, gave us this big move all the way up to 1.42. So I know this level is a very, very strong level. If we break through, we can head a lot lower. So I'm looking at the market heading a little bit lower into this 1.275 level, and then maybe you can have a bit of a relief. I'm not calling a reversal because there's not enough information for that. It's a level where we could reverse from, of course, but you see price action candlesticks for me to say the reversal is on. So I'm looking for some upside for pound USD from this area, coming into next week. But I do obviously want the price to head a little bit lower to actually test that level before I do look to do anything with pound. And since we have broke through that support there at 1.298, 1.3, we haven't had that retest. We'll be looking to see if pound USD can turn bullish and come back up and retest that area. So that's what I'll be looking at. Again, probably not in one push. We do have some supply resistance here at 1.288, where we can look to take some profit off. Probably drop to the lower time frames to see that, but that's what I'm looking for the market to head to if we can hold this level at 1.275. But that is the plan for next week for pound USD. Hold that support, looking for longs, and then first target 1.288, and then 1.298, 1.3 after that for pound USD for next week. Okay, so next up we've got pound CAD. So pound CAD, as you can see, price isn't moving too well over the past few days, couple of weeks. We are technically consolidating here on the daily time frame, but overall I am bearish on this pair, have been for quite a while. Like I said to you guys last week, looking for more downside. Had targets around the 1.62500 area, which was this support level on the weekly time frame. This support over here, which the market pushed, pull back, big push to the upside. You can see we're just about coming into that area, so we kind of hit those targets. Now I'm looking for either pound CAD to retrace or to keep going bearish. So I do still have more downside targets. I believe the market is working its way back into this 1.6 level of support down here. Really strong level of support. That's where I do believe the market is heading. We could either just keep with this bearish momentum and come into 1.6, or we might retrace, form another lower high like we've been doing over there, and then roll over. It just depends with momentum and how the market wants to move, but I can still see more downside for pound CAD. 1.6 is where I believe the market's headed. Like I said, we are consolidating, so if we break to the upside, then I would expect we're going to have that deep retracement, form that lower high on the weekly, and then roll over, or we're going to break to the downside, and just maintain that bearish momentum. So for next week, I'm mainly looking for that breakout to the downside, retest that support, and just looking for those sells all the way back down to 1.6. We do have this bearish trend line, which is now forming with these lower highs. So potentially we could see something like this happen, market consolidate with that trend line and the support, break to the downside, retest, and then from there we can get some nice sells and take advantage of this bearish momentum. If we do break to the upside, then of course we will be looking for a bigger push to the upside for that retracement. Again, overall bearish, but I would expect to see some nice buys to be able to take advantage of, then later sells, and this will be the target for those buys. This previous swing low for that swing high up there, then we broke through, look for the retest around the 1.66, or we should say 1.67 area, and then probably roll over from that. So just really looking to play the consolidation for pound CAD, break to the upside, looking for the break and retest, then longs to 1.669, 1.67. If we maintain that bearish momentum, break, retest, nice confidence with the trend line, and the sells all the way back down to 1.6 for pound CAD for next week. Okay, so now let's move on to pound JPY, another JPY pair. So as you can see, some bullish price action this week, which was expected, but then Friday or Thursday, well, Wednesday, Thursday consolidation, but Friday did see some nice bearish momentum there as yen gained some strength. So now pound JPY, again, still a bullish market, strong bearish candle, but again, that candle alone is not going to reverse this bullish trend, since on the weekly and on the monthly, everything is still pointing up. It's going to take a lot more than that for the reversal. So I do expect more upside for the JPY pairs, but I do believe we're having some retracement now, maybe some deeper, and then the bigger move to the upside. So although, like I said to you guys, I'm waiting for the shorts for pound JPY, which is the reversal when I mean the shorts, because obviously you can short the pair many times, it's just going to be minuscule compared to the buys. But the shorts, the reversal is still not quite there yet for me. I'm expecting some more bearish momentum and then price to return back to these highs at 168 for pound JPY, maybe by the end of the next week. So again, we've got that high, got that low. We did see some really nice retracement back down here for the JPY pairs, and I suspect it's happening again for another push to the upside. So looking for that next low, again, getting that fib out. Got two areas where I'm focused on for pound JPY. Got resistance here, which is that price swing high there at 164,500, just above the 50%. So we could maybe dip below into the 50, use it as support, and then progress higher, or come a little bit deeper into the second area of interest, which is just underneath the 0.68 at 162,500. This level of resistance here, where we had that initial big push from, we may come a little bit deeper into 0.618. And then have that move to the upside. So I am looking at buys for pound JPY after these sells. I'm expecting price to return back to highs for pound JPY for next week if we can hold these areas, unless we do start to place some bearish structure, some lower highs, lower lows, and the market break through these levels. Then I'll start to change my bias and maybe look for that reversal you know, on the higher time frames. But right now I suspect this is just another correction like we had here, just for another bullish move, maybe not as big as this, you know, maybe not, the minus 0.27 extension, which is around 171, could be a nice target to have, but I'll just be looking for a push to the highs for next week. So pound JPY 164,500 and also 162 250, we'll call it. These are the areas where I'm looking at some longs. Had some nice correction. I do believe the market is still on its way up, so you know, looking for another opportunity to get long, and targets back at those highs at 168,400. Okay, so now we're going to move on to gold. So gold, as you can see, looking quite bearish this week. Some nice downside momentum. Again, was looking for buys this week. Had two areas where I focused on longs. Both areas failing to hold. So we had support here at 1945. Looking for that to hold as support. You can see a couple bounces, but the market did break through. And also this level here, which the market broke through very easily. So the market was quite bearish for gold, more bearish than expected, and it is looking a little bit interesting now for gold, because we are coming back into, well, not quite yet, but back into this daily support here, where we can see multiple wicks into this level of support, where I'm suspecting the next high low to form for the market to return back to some of those highs up there around the 2070 mark. So if we can hold this, then I do suspect those longs will be coming back into action, and you know, targets for next week will be these highs, although I do think the market will head a lot higher. But for next week, we're just going to look for a push back into that high point there. And again, next week we might not even make it into that high as well. Might come into resistance a little bit lower, obviously depending how bullish we are. But I'm still looking for buys for gold as long as we can hold this support, break through that support. That tells us that the structure is shifting. This could be our next lower swing high. At that point, we do have this important swing high up here. I do think the market could come back to retest since we broke through. We didn't quite retest it, so we could see the market break through this, start holding that as resistance and then roll over into 1870. So this is where I'm going to have my eyes on for gold for next week. Drop into the 4H, this support here. So not these like wicks areas here. For me, those are just false moves, false sells. This is the real support where we're seeing the action come from. So if we do break through this, that is significant, and it'll tell me gold's going to head a lot lower, probably to 1870. Probably have this support here on the left, that's the first target, but 1870 is where I'll probably look to exit the trade completely, take some partials at this 1896 level, but real target will be down there. If however we can hold this as support, then the longs for me are back on, and targets are simply all the way back at the highs. But again, we'll have some targets before that, resistance here, along there, before we do get to 2000 back up there. So that is the plan for gold, just depending if we can hold this level of 1920. We'll call it 1920. If 1920 holds, longs back to 2000. If it breaks, holds a resistance, shorts back to 1870 for gold for next week. And last but not least, we've got Bitcoin. So Bitcoin this week, not much from this. Did see some nice bearish momentum and bullish momentum. You can see those spikes on the daily time frame with those wicks. But overall, again, you can see I just drawn a box around the price action, haven't done too much. So main focus for Bitcoin for me was 44k. That's what I was looking for the market to come back into, either hold as resistance or break above and use it as support. You can see we didn't quite come into that. The market is consolidating, but the market is still placing in these higher lows. So I do believe if we can stay above this and not break through, we can still see that push into 44k, where I'll be looking to short the pair if we hold onto as resistance, or long the pair if we break above, and then targets back at these highs, and then 50k up here, 51k up at this area here on the left where that resistance is, if we hold it as support, of course. But resistance, looking for sells all the way back down to 30k. So yeah, for Bitcoin this week, again, not looking for those buys or sells. I'll probably say next week. I think if it does come back to 44k, it might take a few days to actually get there. But certainly, if we can hold that support, I do think the longs are back on for Bitcoin, back to 44, and then we'll see what the market does at that stage there, that key level. If however this doesn't hold, then we could very much be on that bearish journey already and actually be looking for 30k, or at least this level of support here at 35. So if we do break through that, retest it, stay below, of course we might have a wick or two, or price might break on the lower time frames, but it's important we break through on the daily. Why? Because it's a daily level of drawing using daily candlesticks. So wicks on the lower time frames, wicks on the daily will just be false moves on the 4H hourly 30-minute. It's important we get daily close below. So if we use it as resistance and break through, then shorts all the way back down to the lows, 35. If you want to, 30 looks good as well, but we can just play it into that support there on the left. But yeah, that is the plan next week for Bitcoin. From 44k, we'll make more long-term decisions for longs or bigger shorts, but it's all what happens at this level, because this could be the next high low in reference to this point. So longs are still looking good back to 44. If it does fail, then the bears are still in control. Look for the retest and sells back down to 35, 34k for next week for Bitcoin.
Okay guys, that is the end of the video. Hope you all enjoyed that, found that useful. Like always guys, any questions, didn't understand anything, let me know in the comments and I will get back to you guys. If you are enjoying it, leave a comment, let me know. Share, subscribe, hit the like button. It does all help the channel out. Hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any videos in the future. But I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all next week.